What's going on, everybody? My name is Justin Godsey for Justin Godsey TV. Thank you so much for checking out tonight's video. Now tonight, guys, we're here talking about the NFL trade deadline involving two teams today, as the St. Louis Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have agreed to a deal that will send safety Mark Barron to the St. Louis Rams in exchange for 2 draft picks. A 4th-round draft pick and also a 6th-round draft pick will be going to Tampa Bay for compensation for Mark Barron. Now, I really like this deal a whole lot, as the St. Louis Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are two teams going in entirely two different directions. I think the St. Louis Rams can still find some late success in the season. Do I think they're going to be an immediate playoff team? Absolutely not. This team has so many holes in this offense and defense that they're not going to be able to even get close to a wild card game. But I see a lot more success going down the line for St. Louis rather than Tampa Bay. Now, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, giving up Mark Barron is a big move. But you know what? This team has got to start doing something. In the 2015 NFL Draft will be one of the most interesting draft classes I've ever seen in my life. There's a lot of great quarterbacks going there and also defensive backs. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a team that's in the rebuilding process. Nothing is currently going for them right now. They have a lot of miscues on defense. Guys like Daquan Bowers, Adrian Claiborne, Mike Jenkins, all three of those guys are out on injured reserve. Daquan Bowers has been suspended, so there's a lot of trouble in Tampa Bay as is right now. The offense is not living up to expectations. Josh McCown's coming over from the Chicago Bears, was supposed to be the savior, but he has not done anything but sit on the sidelines, look at the clipboard, and that's pretty much it. Mike Glennon, I still have a lot of faith in Mike Glennon, but is he going to be that quarterback to really turn this team around? I don't think so. I think we would have seen some sort of progress from him. Do I like Mike Glennon? Absolutely, but you know what? He needs a lot more help, and he has it right in front of him. He has Vincent Jackson, he has Mike Evans, but you know what? The offensive line has been the biggest problem with this team as well. There's not a lot of time for Mike Glennon to get down the field and get to guys like Vincent Jackson. Yes, he defeated the Steelers, and that's probably one of the biggest. That's their only victory on the season, and they really got to get something going. There's a lot of downplay from this team. So when you go into deep detail about this move, the winner of this deal is obviously the St. Louis Rams. The St. Louis Rams got a hell of a player in Mark Barron, who, yes, over the past couple of years has been on one of the league's worst defenses. But you know what? Mark Barron has been playing around a defense that had Darrelle Revis at one point, that had Deshaun Goldson, and you look at those three, defensive backs, you would expect immediate progress. Darrelle Revis Island, you would expect him to be one of the best on that roster, but no, he did not have the most successful season with Tampa Bay. A lot of people kind of sugarcoated that he was going to end up, having one of the biggest turnarounds in NFL history, but that did not live up to expectations. They got Deshaun Goldson from the San Francisco 49ers, but then again, that did not work out a whole lot. This was a year where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers needed a lot of productiveness from their defensive backs, even though they do have the names. They have Altron Werner, they have Deshaun Goldson, Bradley McDougall, Chris Don Butler. A lot of those guys are some interesting names that really stand out to me. But when you also had Mark Barron in your defensive backs, you want to see great coverage. You expect a lot of great potential from Mark Barron. But Mark Barron is his own cause. Mark Barron has done a whole lot for this team, but now that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are completely out of it, I don't think they're going to end up having any success over the next couple of years. They do have great players, but there still needs time to develop these players. There are a lot of great rookies on this roster. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, Mike Evans. Mike Evans was supposed to be this next, Vincent Jackson in the NFL. He has not even came close to that. Austin Seferian-Jenkins was a tight end out of Washington, which I had a lot of, hopes for. But he is not getting enough time to, even, get close to catching the ball on a constant basis. He's supposed to be, the Antonio Gates of this offense at the tight end position, but nothing is coming to par. And Tampa Bay has been having, like I said, a lot of problems on the defensive side of the ball, and that is what is killing this team for having a lot of success. So, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I am not a believer for them for the next 2 years. The 2015 draft, they have got to hit hard. They really need some help in the defensive backs. Losing Mark Barron is very disappointing. I think there was a lot for Mark Barron going forward for this team. But you know what? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have got to get rid of their high-end players to really start building for their future. They just cannot crowd themselves over one player. They cannot expect one player to carry your team, and that's on defense. You got to start building for your future and start getting, because this is a team sport, not just an individual sport. So Mark Barron going over to St. Louis is going to be a great thing for St. Louis. I like what St. Louis has on defense, at a healthy defense at that. Their defensive line is set. Their linebackers are great. You look into the defensive line, Robert Quinn, Kendall Langford, Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers, you name it. That team is set to go to war. Linebackers, Alec Ogletree, and also James Laurinaitis, Joe Lon Dunbar, they have it there. Their defensive backs is always going to remain that, big question. That is where, they lose a lot of their games, and that is getting blown in coverage. You like Janoris Jenkins. You have to like T.J. McDonald, because now that you're adding Mark Barron into this mix, you now have a fantastic four here. Janoris Jenkins, you also got T.J. McDonald, Mark Barron, and then you're bringing in LaMarcus Joyner. You had the LaMarcus Joyner, but now you have the fantastic four. Four young, excellent, talented safeties and cornerbacks as well. These guys have got to keep that coverage close. I think I see a lot of progress from St. Louis going, over Tampa Bay in the near future. I think the only thing that's really holding back the St. Louis Rams is this offense. This offense is very slow. They don't have a lot of depth at the quarterback position. In corresponding move, Case Keenum was waived to make room for Mark Barron on the 53-man roster. And, is there going to be another team to pick up Case Keenum? I think so. Case Keenum is a project quarterback. He is still a very young quarterback. I think he is, how old is he? He's 26 years old, and he's not even reached his prime yet. So there's still at least, 2 years of actual development for Case Keenum until you can start thinking about, if your team is completely low on depth and you really need a legitimate backup and Case Keenum is available, he has those 2 years of complete development on his belt. Have him work. Case Keenum is not a bad quarterback in the NFL. He's just, played in bad situations. Look at his time in Houston. Houston waived him to make room for Ryan Malley. He comes over to St. Louis, and he's down to number 2 on the depth chart, or number 3 in the depth chart behind Sean Hill, who has been injured earlier on in the season, during week 1. So they turned things over to Austin Davis. It's just a complete mess on the offensive side of the ball for the St. Louis Rams, and I think that's the only thing that's going to be keeping this team from having success, and that's having a healthy and consistent quarterback. Sam Bradford has not lived up to, his standards so far. The St. Louis Rams will be lucky to really have him, part ways with him, because Sam Bradford, this should have been the final straw for him. He's just, numerous injuries, inconsistency. It's been really plaguing this team, and I think it's time to bring in a fresh new face at quarterback. I'm not saying that Austin Davis is that for sure thing, but you know what? You've seen a lot of great progress from Austin Davis. Is he going to be your starting quarterback next year? I don't think so. I think you got to look at the quarterbacks in the 2015 draft involving, Jameis Winston, involving Marcus Mariota. So I guarantee you, once the Rams are on the clock, come I think May the draft is this year, you better be expecting to start targeting a quarterback that has consistency, like a Winston, like a Marcus Mariota. Those are the guys you got to start shooting for. If this team wants to have some success and really compete in this NFC West, they have the addition of Mark Barron to this roster. You're also having that fantastic four, like I said, with T.J. McDonald, LaMarcus Joyner, Janoris Jenkins, and now Mark Barron. That's 4 great defensive backs on your defensive, on your defensive side of the ball. Now it's time for the offense to start kicking into high gear and get something going. I think, I would like to believe in St. Louis, but I have not yet seen it so far. I would love to see this team succeed. They've got what they needed on the defensive side of the ball. Now it's time to start focusing in on the offense, getting some depth at quarterback, getting a more productive running back. I think, guys like Zach Stacy and Trey Mason are a good duo, but, there needs to be a little bit more explosiveness, and you also got to add a wide receiver or 2 to really help save the team and get some targets for any impending quarterbacks coming into this team. So let me hear your guys' opinion about this. I got a lot to say. I'm very verbal about NFL trades and everything like that. I really do like this Mark Barron trade. A+ goes to the St. Louis Rams. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they are a team in the rebuilding phase. It's time to start, building somewhere for Tampa Bay. You got to start adding some depth on the offensive side of the ball, or, on the defensive side of the ball, excuse me. So, there's a lot of, ifs and ors on both sides of Tampa Bay. So it's time to start rebuilding this team and start getting it back into that old playoff potential team. This team is just not going anywhere. Lovie Smith has not done a whole lot for this team, has not helped the cause, of downplay over the past few years. So let me hear you guys' opinion about this. Who won this deal? I personally think it's obviously St. Louis. Tampa Bay is now in that rebuilding phase. I'm Justin Godsey for Justin Godsey TV. Catch you guys next time.